How exciting. Special day for our program, our athletic department as a whole. And I feel so proud of this team and the grit that they've showed in this tournament, but all season long. And I'm proud for all of the Yotes that kind of came before this team that paved the way for us. We haven't lost sight of all those kids that never got the opportunity to play in this tournament as we were going through that transition, and we're just so happy to bring this championship home for all the Yotes, and I couldn't be more proud than I am today.
Amy, Jeff Harkness, we talked about emotions during this tournament, and every game was emotional for its own different reasons, and we talked about whether or not your team was ever going to hit that wall, and they never did. How did you manage the emotional aspect of this as well as the basketball aspect of it?
Well, this team is made up of individuals that are competitive. I mean, Taya Hiemiller and Polly here, they're just competitive. So sometimes that when you have that, the competition kind of outweighs any emotion. They forget to think about what this means or how big this game is or should I be tired or whatever, and just focus on the competition of it. And I'm grateful that we have that type of gritty player.
Go ahead. Coach, as a head coach, what does it mean to be able to bring this program its first conference championship?
Well, it means a lot. I mean, we're excited. When I took this job, we wanted to raise the bar. I was fortunate enough to walk into a very good situation here, and the coaches before me had put together some great pieces, and I was very lucky to walk into that. And they had success. They just didn't have the opportunity to play in the conference tournament and play in postseason. And so for us in that first opportunity, we talked a lot as a group about not taking advantage of that and really respecting the people who have kind of paved the way for us and given us this opportunity, and then just wanting to try to raise the bar however we can. And I would say this championship would be doing that for our program, just continue to raise the expectations.
Coach, it was pretty nice post-game scene out on the court there, obviously with the students fresh in the court, and then you got President Abbott up sniffing down the nets, and I mean a lot of Kyle pride out there. To know you were a part of that and your team was obviously a huge part of that, it's got to be a pretty good feeling.
It's a great feeling, and there are so many people that put things in place to make that happen. So that's why it's just so awesome to be able to celebrate that with Coyote Nation. Everybody, we talk about it all the time, is having respect for the fact that it doesn't matter if it's our cleanup crew at the dome. They all have a part in what happened here today, and we respect that, and we're so glad to have the opportunity to celebrate with them.
Amy, let's go back to when you took over. You immediately get the news fairly soon you're going to lose 5 players before the season even starts last year, and yet here you are now with a conference appearance last year and a conference championship this year. Did that even seem possible at that moment when you got that news, and how bleak things looked at that moment?
Well, I mean, the thing that was fortunate for us is that when we had those season-ending injuries 1 year ago, we still had some key pieces. I knew some players that had played very significant minutes, and we've talked a lot as a program about when adversity hits, kind of the weak teams crumble, and that you have to fight that. You have to resist that temptation to drop and to start pointing fingers, and our team really embraced that. They came together through adversity 1 year ago and this year as well. Just really buckled down, came together, and used it as a positive, and that's, in my opinion, a credit to the character of this team, and the reason why we were able to cut down some nets.
Yesterday you mentioned that Nicole wasn't feeling good. Was that something that was still bothering her today with her shooting percentage?
I don't know. Fortunately, I don't know if it was kind of a quick little flu bug or something. We had a couple other players that went through that a couple days before that, and it just hit Nicole yesterday, and I'm sure that her energy level was zapped a little bit, but it's amazing how she still impacted the game, isn't it? Polly is spectacular. I don't think I've ever coached a player that shot 75% in 3-game tournament. But for Nicole to have 7 assists, 2 turnovers, 5 steals, and impact the game the way she did, get to the foul line, score in double digits, even when she was a little zapped with the energy. I just couldn't be more proud of her as a player, and a spectacular play from our point guards. Taya Miller, Nicole Seacamp combining for 15 assists and 3 turnovers is just incredible.
Let's go back in. Dirk Lambert, safety. How hard was it to open up the lead in this game? It seemed neither team could really ever get into a double-digit lead. So
I agree. I mean, you're right. And we talked a lot about that before this game, about how championship games are not easy ever. It doesn't matter who the opponent is or what. And so we knew it was going to be that way, and as soon as we'd get a 5-point lead, we'd try to get over the hump, and they'd come roaring back, and it just was one of those games that's just a true championship game. And fortunately for us, we kind of made a run there right at the right time, and the clock ran out on them.
Stu, go ahead.
John Lee, KNDS Radio out of Fargo. Coach, you mentioned a gritty sort of play of this team. It seemed like Ty Miller and Rochelle Contreras, they made plays tonight when it really mattered. I know Rochelle hit a couple of huge shots for you there to kind of extend that lead and keep the Denver run at bay. Just talk about how gritty those two are and have been for you this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with those two. I mean, they both have that grit, that competition. Rachelle is the type of kid that wants the ball in her hands and wants to be able to go make plays. And when she makes her mind up that she's going to go do something, she usually does. And Taya is probably one of the most competitive players. And what's crazy is off the court, she's just the sweetest, nicest, just almost to a fault. Young woman, but when she gets on that floor, she is competitive, she is feisty, and I absolutely just admire and love what she brings to the floor every game.
Amy, we had talked about how being SDSU could be kind of a boost for your program, but obviously going to the NCAA tournament is more of a national boost, potentially. I know you're just kind of in celebration mode now, but I mean, is there any way to gauge how that could help the profile of the university and also of your program in terms of recruiting and alumni support, things like that?
Well, we're certainly not going to hide it from recruits, I can promise you that. So that'll be something that, over the next day or two that we're going to really be locked in on, focusing, making sure that the young women that we've been wanting to bring into the program are well aware that we're going to be playing on that national stage and in the big dance, and just a special thing, we want to for this to not be a one-time deal, and we want to be able to make this a repeat performance and be able to bring in lots of young women that will help us do that.
Got time for about one more? Go ahead, Jeremy.
Amy, I know this was kind of a night and day thing, but having made a deep run in another tournament last year, I know the WBI is a lot different than this, but how does that prepare your team, knowing you don't have a lot of time to get ready for the next game?
Jeremy, I credit that WBI 1 year ago, though, for helping us win this tournament right here today. I mean, any postseason experience that your team can get is so valuable. Players like a Margaret McLeod and just Nicole Seacamp, she goes to the WBI, and we play at Utah State, and she goes for 28 points in the second half of that game, and I think just is really cemented in her mind, as well as everybody else's, that she is a force to be reckoned with. She's a great player, and I just think the experiences that our team got 1 year ago in that WBI tournament were valuable in helping us win this conference tournament, and we'll certainly try to continue to pull from that as we head into this other tournament. I know that the NCAA tournament is it's the best of the best. It's very competitive, but we're excited to have the opportunity to go dancing.